Chapter 1867 Tianyu Palace. If extraterrestrial life does exist in this world, then where is it all? Quoted by Enrico Fermi. After listening to Zhang Yi's words, Ling suddenly smiled. As if she had heard some naive statement, she looked at Zhang Yi with a touch of pity in her eyes. Have you forgotten what I said? This planet was created by the Creator as a testing ground. And the entire universe exists for the purpose of creating such an excellent environment. So this is the center of the universe. This is the most suitable place in the universe for human beings to live. Leaving here, the outside world will not be better. What's more, her tone became heavy, we absolutely cannot leave the solar-centered cosmic vortex. Zhang Yi raised an eyebrow. Cosmic vortex? This is their understanding of galaxies. Why? Because it doesn't make any sense. And no civilization has ever developed technology advanced enough to support them leaving your solar system, as you call it, without dying out. And no civilization has ever been able to create a space vehicle that can exceed the speed of light. Zhang Yi remembered a term, warp engine. His eyes widened. Even with your advanced technology, you cannot do it. Light is the limiter of this universe. It is an iron law that cannot be surpassed. Everything in the physical world is limited by its existence. The only thing that can surpass the speed of light is the will of mankind, that is, the spirit. Therefore, perhaps there may be powerful individual creatures that can reach the speed of light. For example, you now, and the combined unconsciousness of our species. But there is no point in doing so. The desolate universe is a dead place. Humans have dreamed of leaving this area, thinking that there is a vast world full of resources outside. But in fact, there is nothing there. Zhang Yi was silent for a long time, and said bluntly, at least there are resources there. Yes. We have also developed the resources of the universe. We have tried everything you can think of. We have just failed in the end, Ling said indifferently. Zhang Yi looked at Ling, thought for a moment, and then asked, if you had been working hard on technology since the beginning of the world, would you have developed civilization across the galaxy long ago? Ling said, maybe, but why would we do that? Since you already know that the world is nothing but an illusion, and only thoughts last forever, why chase after the illusion of light in a world of nothing? Zhang Yi felt that he could no longer continue the conversation with her. The two people's thought dimensions were not on the same level. It's like a beggar who doesn't understand why a billionaire who still has millions after going bankrupt would want to die. I think I understand. The fifth generation of Ecuadorians perished due to their own self-destruction, so the Creator later created us, the sixth generation. After hearing the previous story, Zhang Yi was already able to fill in the blanks of the next story in his mind. But we made the same mistake as the Ecuadorians and are therefore ushering in another destruction. Is that what you mean? Ling said in a matter-of-fact tone, who knows? Only after a civilization has been destroyed will we know what the Creator really wants to do. You were wrong about just one thing, though. The reason the Ecuadorians were destroyed was not entirely because of the Creator. Zhang Yi raised an eyebrow. Oh? Then what was it? Because of the Drucker people. Ling said that name again. Zhang Yi couldn't help but twitch at the corner of his eye. No, how can these guys survive? Ling said indifferently, I already said, they are the strongest lifeforms created by the Creator. The Creator originally intended for them to have bodies that were almost impossible to destroy, but they didn't need to have the ability to think, and then observe the world for them for a long time. But unexpectedly, they got out of control. Even though the Creator always wanted to kill them, there were always Drucker who survived. Moreover, they are becoming increasingly powerful. Even though the Creator has forbidden them to reproduce, they can continue life in their own way. And this way is to plunder. To plunder spiritual bodies from other races. This is an ability they have evolved after experiencing countless devastating blows. Every once in a while, they will recover from the devastating blows of the previous generation, and then begin to plunder the spiritual bodies of humans in the present. In the crudest and most violent way, they kill humans in the present. This is why, ever since their birth, they have been attacking humans from all ages. The Yihen tribe chose to go into hiding and stop appearing, and it was also because of them. Later, both the Arcs and the Ecuadorian could be said to have perished directly at their hands. Ling looked at Zhang Yi. Now, it's your turn. Zhang Yi swallowed, and he asked a difficult question. Among our group, are there any druckers? He thought of Ichigard, Chang Wuan, the mysterious people from the bottom of the sea, the brat from the Wulwan Empire, and even the three-pillar gods of the Neon Underground. But Ling said, no, they are all Arcs and Ecuadorians who survived before. However, the drucker people will appear soon. She took a deep breath, her expression calm but with a sense of relief. Why? Zhang Yi clenched his fists, and for some reason, a feeling of panic arose in his heart. The races they had encountered before were all Arcs and Ecuadorians. They were all civilized races, and although they were not as brutal as the drucker, they had already posed a huge threat to them. And if a race that could not think of anything except killing and eating, and could not even be destroyed by the Creator, appeared in the world, what kind of disaster would it bring? Just thinking about it makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up. Ling said, because we appeared. She let out a soft sigh. For countless eons, they have been able to eat and destroy anything in order to survive. And we, with our strongest spirituality, are their biggest target. Zhang Yi widened his eyes and asked in disbelief, if that's the case, why did you open the gates of light? With your level of technology, as long as you don't actively reveal yourselves, no one should be able to find you. Ling said, because, we are tired of it. Her gaze was calm as she looked Zhang Yi in the eye. Zhang Yi suddenly felt a gentle breeze blow across his body. The white light behind Ling slowly dissipated, like a mist being brushed away by a large hand, revealing a brightly colored world of light behind it. Behind Ling and in front of Zhang Yi, a tall flight of steps appeared, suspended in midair. The world around them was full of long, filmstrip-like images that kept spiraling around in midair. Zhang Yi scanned the area around him, curious but confused. What is this place? Ling turned around and walked step by step towards the top. Zhang Yi hurriedly followed suit. He looked up and saw what appeared to be a huge object hovering at the top of the long flight of steps. The steps were very long, seemingly thousands of levels high, but the huge object was clearly visible and it was hard to imagine its enormous size. It was shaped like several elliptical wheels interlaced with each other, the center was empty, and the wheels slowly rotated as they overlapped. The Yihen tribe was tired of this world and no longer wished to reproduce in order to serve the Creator. However, the death mechanism set by the Creator for living things still exists. Unlike Drucker, they do not have a body that is almost indestructible, so the demise of the body is inevitable. So later, we came up with something like this Tianyu Palace. The spiritual bodies of all Yihen tribe members left their physical bodies and entered this palace. Here, we created a world that is even more massive than the physical world universe. Our spiritual bodies can live forever in it, and will not be reclaimed by the Creator into the ether. In the Tianyu Palace, we can enjoy all the pleasures of the physical world and live our lives as we please. In this way, we have lived for an incredibly long time. Zhang Yi was overwhelmed. We humans also used to say that uploading our consciousness to the cloud would achieve immortality. I never imagined that this kind of thing was already done eons ago. Ling and Zhang Yi walked together towards the top. But after a long life, an endless life, one eventually grows tired of it. Since this place is inhabited only by spirits, and since spirits are well protected, they cannot return to the ether. Therefore, there is no death here, and even if someone wants to commit suicide subjectively, they cannot do so. People only have one thing to do in life, and that is to enjoy themselves. In the early years, people lived very happily, because all their wishes could be fulfilled. However, when people have no goals, they will soon fall into endless suffering. Repeating the same life day after day, unable to reproduce the next generation, and without work to complete, will lead to self-doubt. We have created work to solve this problem, so that people can experience trouble and find a goal in life while enjoying themselves. but since we understand that everything is virtual, naturally we cannot be motivated. Ling turned her head and glanced at Zhang Yi, as if it had been millions of years. Do you know how long this process has lasted? Zhang Yi shook his head honestly. I don't know. Ling gently uttered a number. According to the planet's rotation cycle, it's 4.5 billion years. Zhang Yi. What else could he say? At this point, he had nothing left to say. The long 4.5 billion years was the same as the lifespan of the planet. To endure such an environment and never-ending repetition of days was indeed a terrifying thing. So, you are tired? Do you want to destroy yourselves? Zhang Yi finally understood everything at this point. Why did the Yihen tribe take the initiative to expose their location, and why did they screen so many testers to enter their world? Perhaps, they just wanted to put an end to their existence and end this eternal loneliness that had lasted for 5 billion years. However, they didn't want everything they had to disappear for no reason, which is why there was a trial to allow someone to inherit their things. The two walked step by step towards the top of the stairs. The closer they got, the larger the nested rings became. Its size was indescribable, making people feel as if a star was floating above their heads. Zhang Yi's mood was a little hard to describe. He didn't know whether he should be excited or sad at this moment. Even the mighty god-level civilization, the second generation of the Yihen tribe, was unable to solve the puzzle. Could he really solve it? Oh, no. The Yihen tribe didn't care about such things at all. They were tired of their long lives and naturally no longer considered anything in the physical world. Soon, they would return to the ether realm. Zhang Yi lowered his head and asked softly, "May I ask, does the creator you mentioned have a name?" A name? The creator is the creator. He doesn't need to be called by anyone's name. But for symbolic purposes, we have taken the first sound that humans heard as the word for God. That sound is JHW. Zhang Yi closed his eyes. At this moment, everything formed a closed loop. JHW, Jehovah, Kagago, Pangu, Adam, Abzu, Yahweh. Zhang Yi thought of many things in a daze, and his heart was clear at this moment. At this time, Ling added another sentence. And our Yihen tribe is also called the original origin, or chaos. Zhang Yi was momentarily stunned, and then smiled bitterly. It's quite a coincidence. Unbeknownst to them, they had arrived at the top of the stairs. Here was a huge platform, and the enormous Tianyu Palace hung high above their heads, like stars, causing people to unconsciously look up with feelings of awe. But after stepping onto the platform, Zhang Yi realized that he was not the only person to appear here. In addition to him, there were two other people who had come from a different path. One was Yang Xinxin, and the other was the Tsan Yuan tribe's King Ichigard. I thought I was the only one who had passed the trial. Zhang Yi narrowed his eyes and coldly surveyed Ichigard. Once this guy left this world, he would definitely become a huge threat to Zhang Yi and even the entire human race. Next to Ichigard stood the Knight of the Cross Mask. Next to Yang Xinxin stood the Knight of the Rabid Dog and the Knight of Thorns. Zhang Yi looked at Ling in puzzlement. By the way, I haven't asked yet, what kind of existence are you guys? Ling said, we are humanoid contact devices created by the administrators for contact with organic life forms. All members of the Yihen tribe have left their organic existence and entered the Tianyu Palace as spirits. However, when carrying out special missions, we need to lower the dimension, so we imitated the creator and created this terminal. She looked at Zhang Yi, and the indifference on her face slowly faded, returning to the elven and quirky Ling from the past. We sensed that this world was about to enter a new cycle, so we sent me to find a life that could inherit everything we have. She looked in two other directions and said lightly, in the final trial, everyone died in battle. So the creators let us vote to choose someone to inherit everything of the Yihen tribe. Every knight has the right to vote. Obviously, the little girl by your side is more popular. Zhang Yi shrugged, she has always been the best. Zhang Yi never stinted on praise for his companions. Zhang Yi and Yang Xinxin looked at each other, nodded in tacit agreement, and looked at Ichigard with guarded eyes. Ichigard also looked at them slowly with an unfriendly gaze. The legacy of the Ehen tribe should belong to me alone. How could these inferior creatures appear here, he said discontentedly. The Knight of Cross looked at him and said, everything is an arrangement of fate. This gift may be very heavy. Are you really prepared? Ichigard answered without the slightest hesitation, of course. For this, I am willing to give everything. Even my life. Zhang Yi looked up and gazed at the Tianyu Palace above the sky. At that moment, he realized that this was the most important thing to him. What exactly was the legacy of the Ehen tribe? The source of God? No, he already understood what the source of God was. To be precise, it was the spirit, the ether. It was the most important existence for intelligent beings. The more spirituality a creature possessed, the closer it was to the Creator, and that was why they could have such extraordinary power in the physical world. Because everything in the physical world comes from the ether, and because it exists due to people's observations, it can naturally be changed by the subject of those observations, the spirit. This is why mutants do not need to follow the law of conservation of energy in the physical world. It's like playing an online game, where all sorts of counterintuitive actions can be achieved with just one player's input. Ling, what exactly is the final reward? Zhang Yi looked at Ling. Ling's expression was a little strange at the moment. She didn't look at Zhang Yi, but kept staring at the Tianyu Palace and the air. Suddenly, I have to return to the ether, and I will disappear and become part of Kagago. I was clearly tired of the endless life long ago, but suddenly, I really have to leave, and it still feels a little subtle. Zhang Yi opened his mouth and said slowly, you're leaving too? Ling nodded. The Ehen tribe, 14.8 billion spirits protected by the Tianyu Palace, can also be said to have been sealed up. No one has been able to find us for billions of years. And this lack of mass has had a significant impact on the two universes behind us. Now, we are going to return this mass. She looked at Zhang Yi with an extremely strange expression. The story I told you and everything you are about to experience is our final gift to the life of this world. The moment her words fell, Zhang Yi heard the sound of something breaking in his ears. He looked up, and the huge Tianyu Palace, which was as big as a star, instantly shattered. The buildings made of matter scattered like snowflakes, but there was no dust, as if they had disappeared into thin air. Then, a vast white light surged towards all directions like a tsunami. Zhang Yi could only see endless white light. In the midst of this white wave, his body seemed to become naked, allowing the massive white light to wash over it. Within this endless wave, the 14.8 billion essences of the Ehen tribe were completely released. When Zhang Yi looked closely, he could vaguely make out a white orb. This scene was incredibly familiar, and it made Zhang Yi think of a dream he used to have. It turned out that his countless dreams were all about his mind, his thoughts, and his spiritual body connecting to the ether. Outside, the outside of Chernobyl was already full of people, with countries and organizations from all over the world sending people here. The mutants who had been eliminated in previous trials were also here, waiting for a result. Naturally, no one had forgotten their grudges with the mechanical race. But for the time being, this issue had to be set aside, and no one dared to disturb the progress of this trial. Loridak held his sword in both hands and waited for his king to return, away from the crowd. At this time, he was covered in wounds, which were left before entering the trial space and could not be repaired. However, his strength was there for all to see, and no one dared to go near him. Fremons is located northwest of the former site of Chernobyl, and the Sahara Desert in Africa is separated by a distance of more than 5,000 kilometers. In the middle of the desolate desert, if you look down from the sky, you can find a huge circular pit. It is 48 kilometers in diameter and looks like a giant eyeball. It has a very famous name, the Eye of the Sahara. The 369 polyhedrons used to observe planets in the sky began to slowly disintegrate, symbolizing the end of a civilization. Suddenly, in the endless wasteland, the giant eyeball seemed to come to life and began to rotate in an incredible way. A storm arose in the desert, and the sky was filled with yellow sand. The eye of the Sahara was spinning, and the earth shook violently as if the demons buried here in ancient times had suddenly awakened. Nations around the world were shaken by this sudden sight. Those polyhedron flying machines in the sky suddenly started to disintegrate. What the hell is going on? They should have been sent by the civilization behind the gates of light. Could it be that something has happened behind them? I don't know. There's no way for us to observe what is happening behind the gates. Damn it, what is going on in the sky over Chernobyl? Looking at it from satellites in countries around the world, they suddenly noticed that the piece of sky above Chernobyl had suddenly turned dark. It was as if a black eye had covered everything. A violent storm suddenly arose above Chernobyl, and the thick dark clouds in the sky seemed to have been dragged over by something in an instant, covering the entire area. Fatty Sue and the others hurriedly stood firm, but even after Flower had grown huge, he used his body to protect everyone from the strong wind. What the hell is going on? Damn it. I can't even see my fingers when I reach out. That's good, then no one will know how ugly you are. Nonsense. I'm clearly very handsome, at least second only to my big brother in Tianhai City. Heh, your breath is now even worse than your foot odor. The group of people made jokes, and suddenly light appeared on the barren plains of Chernobyl. Deng Shintong lit up a star, giving the world light.